Thanks, Susan. The Prime Minister's spokesman has described White House claims that British intelligence spied on Donald Trump during the election as ridiculous. They say Mrs May has received assurances the accusations will not be repeated. So it appears the White House has apologised for this statement from President Trump's spokesman, Sean Spicer.
Last, on Fox News on March 14th, Judge Andrew Napolitano made the following statement, quote, 3 intelligence sources have informed Fox News that President Obama went outside the chain of command. He didn't use the NSA, he didn't use the CIA, he didn't use the FBI, and he didn't use the Department of Justice. He used GCHQ. What is that? It's the initials for the British Intelligence Spying Agency. So simply by having 2 people saying to them, President needs transcripts of conversations involving candidate Trump's conversations involving President-elect Trump, he's able to get it, and there's no American fingerprints on this. Putting the published counts and common sense together, this leads to a lot.
The security services are famous for their discretion about their own operations. Most of the time you're lucky to get a murmured off the record, we never discuss security issues. So this blunt declaration by GCHQ, read by a member of our programme team, is pretty much unprecedented.
Recent allegations made by media commentator Judge Andrew Napolitano about GCHQ being asked to conduct wiretapping against the then President-elect are nonsense. They are utterly ridiculous and should be ignored.
President Trump has questioned the behaviour of his own intelligence services in investigating what the Russians were up to during the US elections. So what does this latest row mean for the spooks? Michael Clark is the former director of the defence and security think tank RUSI.
The general view, the general atmosphere around the agencies in Britain, and I think in other European countries, but particularly in Britain, is that after the election, it was hoped that the relationship between President Trump and the American agencies would settle down. And it hasn't. It's got worse. And I think the atmosphere now in the British agencies is be careful, be cautious. I can't put hand on heart and say they're not sharing the same information that they used to, but I would not be surprised if they were not.
So what will the fallout be? Sir Malcolm Rifkin, the former Foreign Secretary, who also used to be the former Chairman of Parliament's Intelligence and Security Committee, can join me now. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
It was a strange accusation, wasn't it?
It was more than strange. It was always a fantasy, and it was quite bizarre. But this was on Fox News. What makes it hugely more serious is that the President's official spokesman at an official White House briefing chose to repeat it, implying that there was credibility in it. Now, we're told that there's been an apology from the White House. That's very much to be welcomed. We've been told that they won't repeat the allegations. That's all right as far as it goes, but it doesn't go far enough. The White House needs to make it clear that they do not have and have never had any evidence that suggests that GCHQ or any British involvement in these matters was ever justified.
So you say the apparent apology doesn't go far enough. What would you want them to do?
I've said we have received an apology, we understand, and that's in itself satisfactory. But according to the reports that I've seen, the wording of the apology is a promise that it will not be repeated again. That's not the same as saying that it was complete rubbish in the first place.
Number 10 must be pretty cross.
They're entitled to be furious. And actually, the White House must be very embarrassed. Now, I assume this is more cock-up than conspiracy. Mr. Spicer, who made these statements, is the President's press officer. He's desperate to try and give some credibility to the original allegation of President Obama having been involved in wiretapping Trump's conversations. They know that they can't sustain that against the CIA or the FBI because Republican-controlled Congress committees have said that there's just no evidence for that. So hence the desperate attempt to imply GCHQ was involved. Now, that's just foolish and very, very dangerous stuff. And President Trump better get a grip, not only on his own press officer, but on the kind of encouragement that is being given from the White House that makes a press officer make these sort of stupid remarks in the first place.
You say very dangerous. Why?
It's dangerous because we're not talking about a candidate for the presidency. That would be bad enough. We're talking about the President of the United States. And, you cannot have his official spokesman making allegations against a fellow NATO government, because it's not just against GCHQ. GCHQ is a government agency. And therefore the inference, obviously, whether intended or unintended, probably unintended, was that either the British government, directly or indirectly, were involved in these matters. Now, Spicer, the press officer, never had the remotest evidence himself. He was relying, as he himself said, on a Fox News report. But you don't just quote from a Fox News report if you're the president's official spokesman, unless you've taken the trouble to find out whether that report is justified.
So what is it you want to hear from whom, really? I mean, is it for you'd be satisfied if the spokesman said this, or if do you want President Trump himself to say...
Look, I don't want to exaggerate this. It's bad enough as it is without me using language that might exaggerate it. What is needed is for a clear, unambiguous statement from the White House on behalf of the president that not only will these remarks not be repeated, but the White House acknowledges that there was not the remotest evidence available to them that entitled Mr. Spicer to make the comments he did.
So Malcolm Rifkin, thanks very much.